The year's 2024, Backyard Monsters officially ended 4 years ago, just before the official demise of Flash Player, but you can play this game today, and I want to walk through how this is possible, what you can do to help, and what is coming next for this project. Hey everyone, Derpy here, and welcome back to another Backyard Monsters video. Most of you who are regular viewers to the channel will know that I make videos on Battle Pirates, Kixeye's largest and most successful current game. But what you may not know is that Kixeye used to have another game, Backyard Monsters, that came out before Clash of Clans, and is arguably what inspired that game today, with many similarities from P.E.K.K.A to Dave to Walls to all sorts of stuff. Backyard Monsters slowly died out, and if you're curious, the most popular video on my channel is about a game that doesn't even exist anymore, at least until today. Welcome to Backyard Monsters Refitted, a game that you can download today 100% for free, go through and play. You can do things like the classic bank all collect resources. Listen to this. Been a little while since you've heard that sound, isn't it? And there are several things that you can currently do in Backyard Monsters in the game today, but this is not a full-fledged official release project for this game. In fact, it's done through some wizardry, a little bit of trickery, downloading old game files, pulling old people's computers. If you have a game that a computer that you played Backyard Monsters on 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the developers of this project would love to know about that, and you can access that and upload all the info they're looking for at the Discord server linked in the description of this video. By the way, I am not affiliated with that project, this project I should say in any way. I'm not a moderator, I'm not a developer, I'm not even a donator, because this project is actually currently accepting donations in the alpha release stage. Now what's coming next for this? Well, the next thing is that the beta release is coming out in 7 days, but a little bit more on that later. What I want to do is show you a few of the functionality bits of this game that you may not remember. So let's get into it. Now as you can see, I have a little bit of a base built up here. I am Town Hall level 8, it's upgrading to 9 there, and I have 115,000 shiny, so I can basically make every single change possible. And there are some pretty classic things I can do. I can open my monster juicer, I could take a few brains, take a few bolts, and I could juice them, which you can see here will make that they leave the confines and go over to that. I can take my champion, of which there's actually only a few in the game today, and I can feed it something to get it towards evolving. Oh, look at that right there, all that goo going up. Now, you can do some other stuff. You can take monster bunkers, you can put Finks and Banditos inside there, for instance. I could take the monster lab and upgrade a few of my different monsters. I could give my bolts teleportation. I can do all sorts of things. There's the Dave with rockets. And I can even take new monsters and make more of them, which does take quite a bit of time, but then again, in the alpha release stage, there's 115,000 shiny. I can upgrade my wild monster baiter, and I can even have monsters attack my yard. What you can see right here is, let's take a few Dave, a few Project X, a few of the large defensive targeting monsters, and have them attack my base and really see what happens. A few eye rays, you know, the things that explode and hit walls. I can have them come at it from any particular angle I want to and really see what happens. Let's do Wormsers, let's do a few more Daves, why not? And see what happens. Basically just throw the kitchen sink at this thing and you can take a look at what kind of monsters are doing certain things. And it's worth remembering that this game officially shut down years ago, and you can't even play this or spend money on this if you wanted to. Instead, it's been brought back by a group of fans essentially. Now there are quite a few bugs and glitches and things like that that you can see there. You saw some white space, and this is actually improving as it continues to come out there. There's several bugs that are being worked through, but it's pretty crazy that you can go to the link, again, in the Discord server, which is in the description of this, download this and play it today. Now it does use Flash Player, which is probably risky to your computer, and I'm not going to tell you to download anything to your computer because you shouldn't listen to some random guy on the internet tell you what to use, but it is really cool that I'm able to see this and can play this game and can look at a base, something that I built years ago that, well, I don't have access to anymore. Now, of course, this is not my Backyard Monsters account. All that information is held in, I imagine, a much more secure way by Kixeye, and effectively what this team of people, this fan base is doing is taking some old assets and re-uploading them, which is probably copyright infringement, is probably all sorts of nuanced things that I haven't fully researched all the way, but is a risk that they're currently seeking to take. Now, I do know that a group of people, maybe this one, maybe not, did actually contact Kixeye and try to acquire the rights or the copyright or the images or something to this game, but they were told basically, no, there's no way we're going to sell this asset class. Maybe for whatever reason Kixeye is Stillfront, which is the company that currently owns the small game studio Kixeye, wants to bring this thing back in a few years. You never really know anything's possible. But there's a defense. If you wanted to, you could also go onto the map and attack things. Well, not really, because there's a lot of stuff like that that is currently disabled in Backyard Monsters Refitted, which is the name of this project. You can't attack tribes, you can't attack players, there's no outposts, there's no Dave Club. They're actually missing a few of the champions because they actually just don't have any data with this. So if you happen to be a player someone who has an old laptop, an old computer that you used to play Backyard Monsters on, it would help the people out behind this project to bring it back if you sent them specific bits of data from those old computers that you might have lying around there. I think that's probably a pretty nice thing to do because they're making this game possible for you to bring back and you to play yourself. Now, of course, like I said, they don't have any old data that you have there, and in fact, they are looking for various people to help out with all sorts of things, from translation into a number of different languages, to developers who are skilled enough to actually work with all the different code that they have open sourced completely on GitHub. By the way, this is an entirely open source project to bring this thing back with actually pretty continued updates. So there's just a few things for you to consider with that one there. Now, actually, there was a way for me to do some attacks and attack my own base. I don't actually remember how I was able to do that before, but it was pretty interesting. There are things that you can do. Let me go ahead and goo up some more of my monsters so you can look around with that, and then let's talk about the future of this project and kind of what I think might happen with this one, because, well, there are a few different potential issues with this that could occur, but there are some other possibilities for, you know, some pretty interesting things to happen with this one. So there's some stuff to consider with that. And of course, you can take your workers, you can buy more of them, you can have them go and pick shiny. Imagine if in Battle Pirates you were able to get coins like this by having your builders go to work. Now, a few things that are coming up with this game is that they have a beta release. This is currently the alpha release I'm playing on. They have a beta release coming out in just under 7 days from recording this, likely another few days until I post this one, where they're planning to do a reset eventually between when this thing goes live, because while this is just a game that a few fans essentially are working on, there is a plan to release this and have continued updates, bringing back as much of the actual content as possible. There are active discussions between should we use Map Yard 1, Map Yard 2, all sorts of other things for this one, in terms of what would be the best thing, how many players, outposts should be on one of these map rooms and stuff like that. So there is some stuff to consider, and I'm sure they are wanting people to weigh in a little bit on some of that stuff there. So that's just something else to consider with this one. Now, the biggest problem that I see with this particular thing, while it is very cool, is that it's probably breaking some kind of rule that Kixeye has, some law that I am definitely nowhere smart enough to know anything about, but it is worth considering if this thing could just get shut down by a lawsuit, because in America, you can sue anybody over anything. Now, my intent of this video is not to say that's going to happen, it's just this is something to potentially be worried about. And while the founders of this particular project are super responsive, at least periodically in their Discord server, they are taking some donations to just help pay with server costs. You can actually click and see how many people have donated to this one. You can get special roles in their Discord group, etc. for doing that. It's likely all above board, but it is just worth mentioning that this is not something official and is basically a fan-driven nostalgia trip which is how they describe themselves, where they're bringing back an old game that they all used to like that you could go play yourself too if you wanted. And because this is all super open source, it's probably going to be pretty hard to shut down with that one. So there's just something that you may not really have realized was possible, playing Backyard Monsters in 2024. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. I'll do my best to answer, and of course I'll link to the website they have, which is bymrefitted.com, as well as the Discord server with the developers and stuff like that in there. I'm not affiliated in any way with this stuff, but it could be cool for you to go check out if you wanted to, and really play the game here that you haven't been able to play for years. With that said, until next time, which could be another Backyard Monsters video, could be, more likely, back to your regularly scheduled Battle Pirates content, this is Derpy, signing out, helping you be a better monster hunter.